Hey guys, how you doing? This is Rich Acosta from 101 Media House. Today we're going to be doing the setup for the DJI RS2 and RS2 Pro combo. Let's check it out. Guys, welcome. As we said, we're going to be doing the setup for the DJI RS2. We're going to be using two types of connections, one for Canon cameras and one for Sony. So this way you get an idea of where it's going to be, depending on what camera you have. But this setup actually works for pretty much all of the cameras, okay? So let's start by setting up the DJI Pro RS2. I know I get the Pro combo, so you're going to see a couple of connections that might be a little bit different if you just had the DJI RS2. Now this initial part is going to be the same for both packages. Basically we're going to put the base or the extended grip. Today we're going to use it as a base. It's actually like a tripod grip that opens up when you want to put it on a flat surface, or it's also an extended grip if you decide to use it to give it extra length when it's attached to the battery. So the next part is actually also a grip, which also serves as the battery. This is called the B60, and this basically just gets screwed on to the extension. Make sure it's nice and firm, and then you set that up right there. Okay. One of the things that I already did is I actually put the plate already on my camera. This is actually the Canon RS2. The setup for every camera is the same. It's just different cables. Now it comes with a whole set of cables, but the cables will actually be, they're actually labeled very well, and they're brand specific. So the Sony will actually say Sony on it. So you shouldn't have an issue connecting it, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I put the high plate on there. This actually comes also with a little plate on the bottom, which is called the upper plate, and then it has the other one that actually goes on the extension. We'll put this on the side for now, and I'll show you guys in a minute. We're going to continue with the setup of this. So in order to do that, I'm just going to open up the bottom zipper where the actual RS2, well, the bulk of it is anyway. Okay, and so this is actually the way it comes out of the bag. This actually is going to get connected right onto the battery. It has a little hole on the bottom. This actually comes with a little bit of a rubber piece, but it's a little bit piece of rubber that just protects the connection. Make sure you don't throw it out, because again, anytime you pack it up, you want to make sure that these connectors are protected. So this just kind of slips on right onto the top. I'm going to put this sideways so you guys can see. Okay. And then once you slide it in, it actually has a little bit of a lock right here. And all you got to do is slide the lock. You actually just kind of basically put it down. The next part that we need to do is just basically put the camera so we can balance it. I actually did something a little bit different, just so you guys know. And this only applies to the DJI RS2 Pro combo. And the only reason I did this is because in order to balance it, there's several aspects that every single thing that you add onto the camera is going to affect the way you balance it. So what I did is I actually put the Raven Eye, which is this section right here on the bottom, and there's actually a space underneath the plate here where you can actually attach it right here. So the Raven Eye goes in there nice and comfortable. I put it in where I have the antennas basically facing towards the, what do you call it, the tilt axis. And the only reason I did that is to be able to balance the camera correctly. Okay, so now I put the upper plate inside on my Canon RS2. This is the other plate that's going to go in here on the camera. And so basically I just go in there and slide this, actually slide this backwards actually. Hold on for a second. You want to make sure that your lens is facing, the plate has a left end and another long end. That long end is where the lens should be facing, just so you guys know, because it's gonna go along the length. It's gonna be a lot easier to balance. So that long end should be meeting up with the length of the lens, and then your camera is actually gonna slide right into this spot right here, okay? Let me see if it actually slides in the other way a lot easier. Yeah, it does. Okay, so once that plate is in there, that's pretty much the way it should look. You actually go ahead and lock it into place. Again, make sure you don't want to lose anything. Okay, and now it's ready to mount on the gimbal. So what I normally do is you unlock everything first. Make sure that they're all unlocked. It's got these little locks on the top. And this one actually kind of gets basically open like that. And they're actually labeled, guys. They actually has little labels on each axis, so you know which one's which. Okay, so if you're not familiar with them, that's actually one way to do it. So this one, I'm just going to put it in this position right now and lock it. This is your, again, your, this is your roll axis, the one in the middle, and it's got the lock right towards the inside. I just lock that in place so you guys can kind of take a peek of where it's at. Then the bottom one is already locked. I'm gonna leave that locked as it is. If I unlock it, it's basically your pan. So it goes from left to right, okay? But for purposes of the balancing, I'm just gonna go ahead and lock it. So I have the pan here and the roll are both locked. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and slide. I'm gonna lock the top one for now, just to slide the camera onto the unit. So this is the plate. There's a little gap here on the unit that actually goes down, and that's where the plate will actually slide in. Even though it's lengthwise, it's actually probably the right way to do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it sideways so you guys can see. I'm gonna go into that gap and I'm gonna slide it backward, okay? And then once it's in there, there's a lock here. I'm just gonna go ahead and lock that into place for now and then face it forward. Again, I'm gonna lock the bottom axis, and so now basically right there I'm ready to start balancing my camera. Now remember, I added the Raven eye on the bottom. I added the lens that I think I'm going to use for the most part. In this case, this is a 1740 and the Canon R5. The other thing that I did that you guys probably already noticed is I have the microphone. These are all things that anytime I'm going to do any kind of shoot, all of these things will actually affect the balance if you do it afterwards. In other words, you can't just balance the camera and the lens and then add the microphone and add, for example, the Raven eye in this case. It's going to set off the balance, and when you don't have it well balanced, it will actually affect the motors on these gimbals, and it will inevitably either break down or not work as properly. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the tilt axis. The tilt axis is actually the one on the top. I'm going to go ahead and unlock it. Okay, and obviously you see the first thing that happens is my camera just kind of leans forward. All the other ones are locked, and so the beauty of it is you don't have to worry about those yet. You're just worried about the top one. And what we're doing here is this part of the camera will actually go either up or down depending on where you need to do. And what you want is you want the camera to be able to be, when you're balancing the tilt axis, which is the top one, you want to be able to hold your camera upright, okay? And you should be able to have the camera stay upright. So obviously you see that's going to happen, is actually leaning forward. So that's where you go ahead and adjust here. I'm just going ahead and loosen that up. Loosen this up right here. And then it's either going to go up or down. I'm going to tilt it up for a second so you guys can kind of get an idea. See, like right there, I put it up. It goes, it's not balancing. So in order to do that, I know that my setup for the most part is actually a little towards the bottom. That may be a little too much. Okay. And it'd be somewhere, oh, well, there we go. Right off the button. And so I'm going to turn this around slowly. It's unlocked, guys, right there. So, and this is pretty much what you want. You want to be able to make sure that your camera is holding up like so. It's not going to tilt forward. It's not going to tilt backward. It should just be pretty much going up in one shot. Okay, so I'm going to lock this again. This one is actually okay. So that means my tilt axis seems to be okay there. Might be just a little bit off. Let me see if I can kind of fine tune that. Just a hair. Let's see. Again, I'm gonna raise this up for me. And just on a side note, guys, one of the things that I noticed about this one in particular is that the carbon fiber, oh, there we go. Let me do that again so I can show you guys. So there's actually no contact here on the microphone. This thing is unlocked, and this is pretty much the way you want it. And you see, it wasn't actually that complicated. You just want to make sure that it balances there. For the most part, it's not leaning forward, it's not leaning back. It's just a perfect balance right there. Right there is when I'm going to lock it. Now, two side notes. One of them is when I tighten this lock up right here on the front. Now it's already balanced. I lock it, and this turn for some reason always sets it off a little bit. I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. It's almost like about a turn and a half, and you see now that thing is actually going. If I go back up here, it's actually not as straight as it was before. You know what? I'll take it. This is actually good enough for me. You want to be, oh, actually there it is. Okay, this is pretty much what you want. There's a little play, you know, just make sure that it's not too exaggerated. It shouldn't be something like a 45-degree angle or else. It should be pretty much like this, give or take a hair, and you'll be okay. And the other side note that I was mentioning was the fact that I found the carbon fiber units, which is this arm right here, and this one right here. These two arms, which we're going to do right now, I found them kind of rigid when I was doing the balancing, and you know, I don't know if it's a little tight. I guess I prefer tight over loose, but just on a side note, you might find that yours is tight as well. Okay, so now going back to this, I'm going to go ahead and lock my tilt axis now that it's already set. You saw it went forward. That's okay. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do this middle section right here. And it has a little knob. This is to basically adjust the plate so it doesn't move forward like it did just a second ago. I'm going to go ahead and unlock, and you see that the camera just basically leans forward. In order to fix that, I'm just going to basically go back up, and you'll see I unlock this section right here, and it has this little knob that will actually help you move the camera either forward or backwards. Obviously in this case it's leaning forward, so I'm just going to go ahead and move it backwards, and you'll see that you'll start adjusting it. After a while you kind of get a feel for, oh, that's a little too much. Okay, and let me see if I can go. So you just basically fine tune back and forth with that, and at some point you're going to find that it's pretty much balanced right there. So that's actually the second part. I'm going to go ahead and lock it. You lock these, you know, it has in each section, it's got these locks. And again, this is just for the purpose so it doesn't fall. Once I got that one correct, the next part I'm going to do is just go ahead now and lock that top axis, which is actually in that part right here. The next part is actually the, what do you call it? The roll axis, which is this middle one. And the way you want to balance that is you want to make sure that your camera, this arm slides in or out, okay? And that's going to basically tell you if your camera is going to be leaning, rolling to one side or rolling to the other. I'm going to go ahead and unlock. The lock on this one is actually down on the bottom over here. It's down on this arm. I'm going to go ahead and unlock that, okay? And then what's going to happen is, this is, if it's not balanced, it's actually going to lean either this way or it's going to lean this way. And the only way to fix that is you move this arm either in or out. See, this one is actually pretty good right off the bat. I'm going to fine tune it a little bit. Now, by fine tuning, again, all I need to do is slide it. It has some markings on the inside that'll, as a guide, so it'll give you, if it looks like centimeters or something like that. And it's basically labeled from 0 to 7, and there's half points in there. You can use those. Those are actually really good guides for you to become comfortable as to where it is. So see, this one, mine is actually leaning just a hair towards this way. Let me see if I let it loose, it just kind of So I'm gonna go ahead and unlock, and I'm gonna push this in just a hair. And this is the part where I found just a little bit rigid for my taste. And okay, there we go. Okay, and you sometimes in the beginning, once you get it, once you've done it a couple of times, it's gonna be easier because for the most part you're gonna leave it more or less in the same spot. But just so you guys get an idea of where it's at. Right now, I'm happy with that balance. Again, this is unlocked, and it's not really, you know, for me, it's actually, you know, let's see right there. Again, this looks good to me for that roll axis. So I'm just gonna go ahead and lock it. Oh, lock it here on the bottom. Sorry guys, hold on for that. There we go. And then I'm gonna lock the arm. Right, there's two locks that I'm talking about. One of them is just to lock the actual gimbal, and then the one on the top is actually to lock the arm. Make sure that the arm is locked. Again, you don't want it to, I guess, destabilize. This is actually a lot smoother. It's probably the smoothest one on my unit. Like I said, I'm just having a little bit of an issue with those. And then finally, you want to do the bottom axis, which is your pan. This is your left and right. And how do you do this one if it's already flat and it looks fine? What you want to do is, it's unlocked already. I'm going to go ahead and unlock my tilt, which is the top one here. And I'm going to also unlock my pan, which is the one in the middle that we just did. There we go. Okay, and so for the most part, there's a couple of things. Again, you want to make sure, how is this working right here? Okay, so this is where you really kind of see the fine tune right there. See how it's actually rolling a little to the left? So I'm just going to go ahead and fine tune that for a second. Let me see if I can kind of do that. Yeah, see, it's rolling just a hair. So I'm going to unlock this again. Hold on. And again, this is where I found mine just being a little bit hard. Dude, that was hard. Okay, so there it is. It's loose, but you're seeing that I'm actually having a little bit of a tough time now. It went way too far. So I'm gonna pull it back towards me. It's actually sliding a little bit easier now. There it is. Okay, so now that's loose. Let me see if I can loosen up the top one. Okay, so now all three gimbals are loose right there. Okay, and if you see, for the most part, that's pretty much what you want. You know, if you get a little bit of an angle, it's okay. Again, you could always fine tune. Remember that there's little things that you can do. You know, if you see that it's leaning forward or leaning back. But for the most part, that's what you're looking for when you're balancing the gimbal. That's pretty much it. One other thing in terms of balancing, one more thing is I'm actually gonna go ahead and connect my cables. And the purpose of this cable is actually to make sure that you're able to control from the front all the actions on your camera. So basically, this again, amongst all the cables that they have, they're all actually pretty well labeled. On the Canon R5, which is what I've got here, it's USB-C to USB-C. You actually just go on the side, right on top of the HDMI cable. Let me see if I can kind of get this in. Okay. It's got the connection there for the Canon, and again, I'll show you a close-up of this as well. And we'll actually just go ahead and plug in the camera right there. And then the second part is actually going to go right underneath. On the actual unit, you'll actually find these three holes that are right on the tilt axis. There's three connections right on the top here. Again, if you look at this picture, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And we're actually going to connect it to the top one right there. Okay, and what that's going to do again is it's going to let us control the gimbal and the camera at the same time. The last thing we need to do, guys, let the gimbal do the fine tuning. In order to do that, we're going to turn on the DJI RS2. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the button here. Okay, and you see the DJI go in there. There's 4 images that'll show up here in a second. But you're actually gonna hit the first button, and in there it says Start Calibration. I'm gonna go ahead and hit that. And then you're gonna see this tremble for a minute, and you're gonna hear some noises too. That's normal. Basically what it's doing is it's actually calibrating. See the pan, the tilt, and the roll. Okay? Once it's all done, you're actually gonna see something here that says Gimbal Calibration Complete. Okay? And then you can just go ahead and hit confirm. Guys, and right now, that's pretty much it. We're ready to roll right now with our gimbal. Once it's balanced, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this around. Let me see. Let me see if this is actually working correctly, but it actually has my the joystick right in the back of the menu, and that's actually one of the things that you use in order to basically start using this gimbal. If I lower it, you'll see, I'm gonna see if I can do an example here. And see if I can kind of, there we go. And so do left, do right. If I'm doing it up, it's because I'm kind of playing with the joystick. It's actually very sensitive. And you can actually adjust all those settings in there, okay? Yeah. But once you get your whole system set up, then it's a piece of cake. But this is your basic setup for the DJI RS2 and RS2 Pro combo. Next video, we're actually going to be doing the setup of the Raven Eye. For those of you who have the Pro combo, we'll be doing the connections on the Raven Eye. We'll be setting up your app to connect with the unit, and we'll go over all the app features as well as the menu on the touchscreen in the back. Alrighty. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. Please, if you like the video, please feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.